Hello, my name's Limey Joe and welcome to my beginner's guide of the snappily titled Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. Mutant Year Zero, which I will now call MYZ or MYZ for ease, is a strategy game in the same vein as XCom, but with its own twist and colourful characters. The main difference in playstyle is when you're out of combat, MYZ is in real time. Is when you enter combat that it changes to a turn-based format very similar to XCOM. While you're in real time, you have two modes. Normal explore mode, where the characters move more quickly and have their torches lit, and stealth mode, where your characters move more slowly with their torches off and are more difficult for enemies to spot. The game encourages you to explore the landscape and find various resources. Scrap is the most common, used to buy kit. Weapon parts are used to upgrade your current weapons, and occasionally artifacts can be found and can be cashed in for bonus attributes. This is all done at the Ark, which is the game's hub town, which you reach fairly quickly as you progress through the game. The game also encourages you to carefully scout out enemies, identifying the ones on their own and take them out quietly before you get into a full-blown firefight with a group of enemies. Especially later in the game, this becomes very important, otherwise you can start a firefight with a group of ghouls only to find a load more coming out of the woodwork that you haven't seen. Later there are also various enemies that have special abilities, which can cause real problems if you're not expecting them, but I don't want to go into that too much because I don't want to ruin the surprise. What I will do is play through the first battle in the game and give you an idea of how the game plays and maybe give a few tips. So here we are in the first battle where it requires any kind of stealth.
Hungry! I says we take the Ark. Taste the mutants. Love me some mutants. There we go! Rip their hearts. Crush their... Hey! You hear that? You hear that noise? I hear my stomach. Hungry! Kill!
I have got my flashlight on at the moment, and with a left click of the button I can turn it off, and that basically means that they won't be able to see me as easily. So you can see their ring of where they can see. In essence, what you want to do is make sure you stay out of that ring of vision until you are ready to engage, because obviously if they see you first then you are going to not get the advantage of surprise on them. So I'm just going to skirt around them to see if there's other people that I can pick off before I actually get to the main fight. So you can see this butcher here is a possible for being able to pick him off before I get into fighting the main group of them. As you can see, there's various bits of loot just kind of around. So at the moment I'm in real time and I'm just sort of scouting around the various areas, just really being careful not to get spotted by anyone. So you can see level 1 butcher. Some of the enemies have less health than others, and butchers and marauders, for example, have less health. So sometimes they're much easier to pick off than some of the others. And even though I am behind the shed here, if I go into that enemy's ring of vision, the scenery will not block his vision. He will still see me most of the time. The only way to stop you from being seen is to hide. You can see if I right click next to this log, then I can hide, and your character will stay there whilst you go and explore with the other one. Before we engage, let's have a quick look at the menu system. This is your inventory, and I've got a smoke grenade, and if I had anything else I could equip it in the other hand. We've got silent weapons like the crossbow, and then regular weapons like the stinger. So if I click onto the other chap, we've got a scattergun, which is in essence a shotgun, and a stinger in the other guy's arsenal, and he's got a grenade. It's actually a Molotov cocktail, so that will burn enemies. There's also grenades later on, but then you have got, you know, various pieces of armor and so on that give you bonuses. And as your characters gain levels, then you gain points to spend in the mutations area. Each character has its own potential mutations. Now, when you're picking mutations, be aware of the shape that surrounds the mutation. So you can't have more than one square mutation. You can't have more than one circle mutation, for example. So if you pick both of these, Eagle Eye and Alpinist, then you will only be able to choose one. You'll have to change it in between battles if you want to choose the other one. So they're less useful. Ideally, you want, obviously, to pick efficiently one of each type. Just a bit of a tip, Hog Rush here, which Borman can have, is very useful for taking out enemies that you can't silently take out in one go. So if both of your characters have a silent weapon, but you can't take them out in that just with the 2 shots from the silent weapon, then you can Hog Rush them, knock them over, and it gives you another round potentially to kill them before they have a chance to signal to their friends that they're being attacked. This is the zone map, and there's the Ark, which is where we're heading for. And this is where you could potentially change your squad if you wanted to. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and ambush this bloke who is walking around. Tab swaps between characters. W, A, S and D makes you walk around. Q shows you the direction in which your objective is. Now these initial enemies are dead easy. You can just shoot them no problem and kill them. But for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to try and ambush this guy effectively. So what I'm going to do, I can press F to split my characters up and only move one at a time. I'm going to move. See, now he won't see me, but if I wasn't hidden at that point, he would have seen me. So now what I'm going to do is when he gets to a point fairly close to my character here, Borman, the one that's hidden at the moment, I'm going to press the space bar to ambush him. Okay, here we go. Now we're into the turn-based combat. So if I go to Borman and I activate him, neither of his weapons are silent, so ideally what I'm going to try and do is take him out with the duck guy, who has the crossbow, which is silent. Now it doesn't really matter if this guy sees me at this point, as long as I take him out in the first hit. So if I aim at him, I've got a 75% chance. In this particular circumstance, I'm better off just running towards him, even if I'm not in cover. If he sees me, it doesn't really matter. And shooting at him point blank to get 100% chance to hit him, because you can see from his health bar, that I'm going to take him out in one hit. So with my silent crossbow, I'm going to get rid of him, and the others won't notice. Okay, now what I'm going to try and do is ambush these two together as well. Now cover is, like with XCom and other games of this type, is important. If you can get your characters in full cover, then that is going to pay dividends. You really want to get them in full cover as much as possible, otherwise they're going to take some hits. Even partial cover is not particularly effective in this game. So if I hide the duck guy here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from here. I'm going to ambush from here, and I'm going to run Borman forward so he's in full cover. Here we go. He's seen me, but it doesn't really matter too much because I'm not going to be able to take him out silently anyway. 75% chance to hit him, and that will take him out in one hit, so I'm going to do that. So we've alerted the other chap now. You can see this other chap has got 2 more points of health compared to the first guy. So I do 4 damage with this crossbow, and if I press X I can move it to the stinger, which also does 4 damage. But the stinger has more ammunition, which is shown by this bar at the bottom below the weapon. Potentially I could also throw a grenade at him. So you can see here next to where it says walk, you can see how many action points I've got. So I can run to here and still have an action point to shoot. But if I shoot now, that takes up both action points. So you have to be careful. If you're going to stay where you are and you're in good cover and you're unlikely to get flanked, you might want to say reload, because that will take one action point and then you can shoot with the other action point. If I throw here, that takes two. But if I was to run over to the bench like that, that's taken an action point, but it still means I can shoot or I can throw. So it's a matter of using your action points effectively. 75% chance of hitting him, and I will do 4 points of damage if I hit him, plus if I get a critical then it will do the remaining 2 points of damage. But critical is only 15%. So you can see it's all nicely laid out for you in this game. It's really good. Potentially I can put him in Overwatch, which allows him to shoot at the first enemy that he sees that's moving in the enemy's turn. I have found Overwatch to be pretty ineffective. The vast majority of the time he will miss. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend using Overwatch much of the time. It uses a piece of ammo. Most of the time it misses. And yeah, it's generally speaking not particularly fantastic. You have also got the hide option, which will just make it harder for the enemy to hit you, which sometimes can be very useful. So I'll shoot him with the stinger. Boom. There we go. So I didn't do any critical damage, so he will get turned now. He's going to run forward.
Stupid stalkers!
And you can see he shot me pretty easily there. Pressing Q and then moving the mouse will spin your view. Tab swaps between characters when you're in the when you're in the move section. But if you go to shoot, then tab will just swap between the targets. So you have to click on move before you can tab between your two characters. So realistically, this is a pretty easy engagement, because we saw the first one off with the first hit, and we can easily see this guy off with the next hit. I mean, I've got 75% chances of hitting him, so it's not going to be a major problem.
Bullseye! Oh man, that was my shot. Get your asses over here.
So I'm going to regroup now by pressing F, and I'm going to go and find every piece of loot I possibly can. Every piece of loot I possibly can, because trust me, you will want everything. And first aid kits are super expensive in this game, so use them wisely. So hopefully that's given you a pretty good idea of what Mutant Year Zero is like, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I have. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.